Look who we have on the podcast.
It's me. Hi.
One of the OGs of Red Cow.
It's true.
We decided, it's the main channel, the Red Cow Entertainment channel, which heavily features John. There's a meme out there by an artist named Pine Vinyl who drew a very funny sketch of me and EJ glued to the TV for the next thing that Cinemassacre does. And a very cute illustration of John in the background going, Boxmac? What happened to Boxmac?
I have seen this. I think it's fast. I love like the internal artwork of, Red Cow. It's just
Do you feel that it's accurate in any way?
To some extent, I feel like as time has gone on, I mean, you guys are doing so great with the podcast that it kind of like starts to question, should we continue to do much more highly produced, complex shows like Boxmac?
So I don't love talking about the angry video game nerd, okay?
I think you do.
All right, as an outsider.
Yes.
By an outsider, I mean you've listened probably to all of the clips of us talking about AVGN. Have you enjoyed yourself?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Just the watching the whole thing, gonna go down and picking apart the little pieces, it's just joy.
Were you were never quite a fan of him? You were aware of him, but not a fan?
I was absolutely a fan many years ago, probably up until about 2011, 2010, like in that range. And then we just kind of grew apart,
You and James.
Kind of move
you
on.
and James.
Yeah, me and James.
You got it. You got enough of them. Moved on.
It was great. I mean, the early stuff especially was so much fun, but, you move on.
I mean, as I've said a million times, we started a podcast for our patrons. It turned into putting up clips to advertise the Patreon. One time we talked about Bimmy, as he's become known, and that was shockingly popular, 150,000 views or something like that. And then we committed from that point on to talk about Bimmy when there was notable news. And the reason we did that is because it was very tempting for anybody who listened in to accuse us of clout chasing or you're ripping this guy to bring yourselves up. And so we did a bunch of, we of course reviewed his book. So that was a major event. We reviewed, of course, the plagiarism scandal, anything that was kind of notable, because we, for better or worse, accumulated a fan base of people who wanted to listen about this stuff. And I was satisfied certainly for the past year with the rate of it, where it was like, there was the book, then there was Kieran leaving. The Kieran leaving video is past 100,000 views now. I mean, and I think the reason is because people don't know that it happened. Like we're
the press. We're the press.
Yeah. So they see it and they check it out, but it always brings on this heat that I don't love, which is suddenly like you're just bombarded by Reddit posts and comments about you and your relationship to this channel and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, I'm more exhausted than ever about, because we've rehashed it on this podcast a million times about this like how much is too much, what is fair, what's unfair, when should you stop, when should you continue. And so, I found myself when new things come up being like, ugh, do I have to? Which of course
but you keep going back to the well. You can't just walk away.
Nothing is over! You just don't turn it off!
Well, it's very much like Boxmac.
Yes.
It's very much like Cheetos comes out with a Mac and you're supposed to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've accumulated a fan base of people who have an expectation. So anyway, we're going to talk about James Rolfe today.
All that said, we're going to pick apart his
We're going to talk about it right now. Yeah.
So unfortunately, a new video has come out. And so we have John on, which is, I think, will add an exciting, fresh take on it. John, who as people have gotten to know Red Cow, they didn't immediately know who you are because they knew this channel. They didn't know the other channel. And so they go, oh, another big guy. Is he like a slob too? And I was like, no, John's the opposite of a slob in many ways. Let me explain why.
We are John slobs.
Yes. If I could get John to shoot and edit all of my content, I would. But that's not in the cards. So,
I edited Boxmac once.
It's
as a gimmick.
As a joke. And he didn't like the edit.
It's much more like if James went to Justin and said, I'd like to follow you while you go shopping.
a 10-inch extension cord. Sometimes you just need a little extra money.
Instead of Justin picking up a camera and going into Home Depot.
yeah. There's this famous. Well, to me, it's famous. Of like it was the it's bullshit or it's BS. Of like inflatable ornaments, and it was one of the first times I noticed. I was like, oh my god, it's like that guy Justin is in the reflection of this shot. Like this isn't James. This is somebody puppeteering James. So that's one reason. The other reason is I believe John to be one of the most charismatic, likable, interesting, unique people I know. That's why we dedicated a YouTube channel to him. These Screenwave guys, of course, I don't believe that to be true, generally speaking. Although, as an order of business, I'd like to ask EJ a question.
Right.
When we reviewed the Kieran situation, we were accused of being very soft on Kieran. Right. I think that we laid out our case very fairly and very clearly, which was this guy shouldn't be harassed for being on a YouTube channel, generally speaking. And he also should probably now disengage, right? That was our advice. But one of the things you said during it was he's very talented. He ought to be able to go on and have a big career. And a lot of people thought that you were off your rocker. I had to think about what you said. When you said it, I had to, because that's from my perspective, that's a subject matter expert talking. You're not some Joe Blow that doesn't know anything about video production. You have an eye for video talent. And so I was like, oh, and when you said the Doom episode, for instance, when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of a complex edit. So what, do you want to try to clear the air on this at all?
Yeah, I mean, I work as an editor, and sometimes I have to hire editors or I have to look at resumes. And what Kieran does is complicated. And I think people don't understand how crappy the job pool is. And so I'm thinking of it like that. So I'm thinking of it, this person can do very complex composites, like lots of green screen. You might not like it. It might be garish and it might be a nightmare to you. But like I look at that, I'm like, oh, that's very complex. That he knows his way around that. If I give him some brand guidelines, he could probably make a video for my company. And so that's what I'm coming from, is that there's not a lot of talent out there. And he's been working for 5 years with a very high profile client. That's something I would pay attention to. And I would interview him. Maybe I'd give him here are our brand guidelines. Edit within these parameters, and I bet he would come up with a really good edit because he's hardworking. Obviously, he comes in with tight deadlines. He's abused from his previous client.
You should put that on the resume. I'm abused.
You have to, because we will abuse you. So I can tell that your previous client abused you. So that's good. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, but that's what I'm seeing as somebody who's looking at talent, trying to hire talent. That's what I'm looking at.
That makes sense.
Kieran.
Yeah. Don't you think that, something I've noticed about YouTube, a lot of the discourse that we're involved with TCT is a lot of it's fair and a lot of it's true. And a lot of it has it rings true, but I can't help but notice as a content creator ourselves, a lot of people think they know about video production and they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for instance, I noticed that they actually confuse editing ability with the writing. So the joke came out bad. The writing was poor. The performance was, there's everything that went into it was bad, but the edit was good. As an example.
And even things like, they were like, oh, well, he does the P color correction. It's like, whatever, that's an easily resolvable thing. He can do all this complex compositing. I get on a Zoom call with him. I'm like, hey, just open Lumetri Color. Just pull the slider this way. That's easily resolvable. And maybe Screenwave doesn't really care to resolve that problem. That's their problem. But that's something I can work with. I could work with a Kieran.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of it as that, and from that angle.
It's a wonderful perspective. I'm glad that you cleared it up. I'll await for the next wave of hate about it that gets downvoted, and I'll wade through the sewage. I was telling Mina about that yesterday. I was like, we get a lot of positivity, but the people who hate us get really downvoted. we've now at this point, anybody who supports us on the channel gets accused of being a simp. They're simping for a nothing channel. You see, clout chasers, people who say slobs just for the millions of dollars. Yeah. But I was like, so it all gets downvoted and it settles at the bottom and you can go there, but it's collapsed and it's grayed out. And she goes, and you don't go there, right? And I was like, I go right there, baby.
And engage.
Yeah.
Engage.
Just occasionally, somebody commented like, these fucking guys went soft on Kieran just so they could be YouTube stars. And I was like, how does that make any fucking sense? Like I went soft on Kieran to be famous. What are you talking about?
Most people don't know who this guy is.
That's the reason we're getting the views, because they're like interested in the information about it. But if I go soft on him, I'll get the fame. What the fuck are you talking about? You are an idiot, sir. Like you're making shit up. Anyway. Okay, so the video in question is it was called like writing an episode of AVGN. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about the content that was in this video, and we're going to speculate without through our intuition, through our faculties of reason. We're going to speculate about what we feel is true when the truth has been bent and when straight out lies have been told. We will not be able to prove any of this information, but for fun, we will speculate on it. Are the rules clear?
Yes.
The rules are clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to share with you some secrets of the trade, specifically what it's like writing a script for Angry Video Game Nerd episodes.
First of all, my first bit of speculation, perhaps the most obvious bit of speculation, this video exists because Kieran quit.
You think it was because of Kieran quitting?
Couldn't help but notice the coincidence. Here I am having to do another commentary video right on the heels of the last one because.
I don't think so exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Because there's a weird spot. Well, we can get into the content of the video, but there's a weird spot at the end that has a different recording room temperature that was added later, where he's
Big
just like,
thanks to Kieran.
it's like, and I want to give a thanks to Kieran for 2017 through 2021. It's like, it's slightly different room temperature. It was added later. I think in response, I think they were already working on this video.
Sometimes, years ago, I've had somebody else help with the nerd scripts. They would write a first draft, and then I would finish it up. Sometimes it was Mike, sometimes it was Kieran. It's been a long time. Lately, every script has been all me. Big thanks to everyone who has helped over the years, especially Kieran, who was my main writer from 2017 to 2021. But in the end, it always comes down to me.
it has become a popular topic of conversation that James does not make James's content, right? Like that's what we talk about here.
Yeah.
That James is selling his perspective, and so often it's Justin's perspective you're getting, or Kieran's, or whoever, but somebody else. He's outsourced
Oh, yeah.
the Cinemassacre.
Or new copying from a website.
Yeah. So he outsources the content, but he wasn't upfront that he was outsourcing the content, right? That's kind of like that's the root issue. And I think that obviously that caught up to him in the plagiarism time, where hopefully somebody regrets not being more upfront about how the behind the scenes works. But what he's also become famous for is every time he talks about the behind the scenes, he doubles down. He says, no, it's all me, baby. I get help. He's famous for saying like, Mike helped. He talks about that in the early AVGN days. Like, I got help from Mike. I got help from.
He says it again in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't want to give anybody any absolute credits, but on the heels of the Kieran thing, one of the absolute credits, one that I took note of, was that it would often say edited by Kieran.
Yeah.
Straight out edited by
It
Kieran.
would straight out say that. But he would talk in the writing episode about him editing. Like, I'd put things in a timeline. But what I will say, I think this was a response to something, and it was the Monster Madness event a few years ago.
Yeah, he clearly had a couple points to say. There was like 38 minutes of fluff in that video. And then there was like 3 or 4 like cogent points he was really trying to get across. And it was like the I have final say over everything.
Yes.
That was one that like really, really stuck out.
The last time anyone else has written anything in a nerd episode was the Green Dog episode. So I always have final say over everything. Always have, always will. I have full control over my vision.
It's probably technically true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him sleep good that night, is that when he says he does write and does edit, it's not a lie to him or stretching the truth, because he has final say on everything.
And then there was lately every script has been all me. And then he goes on to say that it hasn't been all me.
Yeah. Because he does specify in that disembodied voiceover that during 2017 through 2021, I might have had some help. Thank you, Kieran.
I want to thank Kieran for leaving the channel. I think that he's being, especially after the plagiarism thing, I think he's being very careful not to lie. I think he's trying to, but I also think he's wanting to color the situation as, don't worry, I'm still the guy making all this content. And I think that his way to do that, the strategy here, is to really focus on the writing. That he said, like, the writing is what makes the DNA of an episode. And I think that he feels as though he either writes the episode in full, or he writes he's involved in the writing of the episode enough that he can say, that is why I feel confident telling you that this is still content that I'm making. Hasn't it been proven that the gameplay footage comes from Mike's streams at least some of the time?
Yeah, I would say a lot of it does.
He's like, I beat the whole game. Like,
He says that in the video too. He says he mentions that he wants to play the games to completion, but then he later contradicts himself and says that a lot of the footage comes from Mike.
Yeah, there's a concentrated bit that's really interesting because it contradicts a lot of the video.
Yeah,
because a lot of the video is like I think it's boring. It's just like, yeah, I play the game and then I write some notes that are funny. Haha, remember that episode when I made this joke? Haha, that was a joke. Anyway, let's keep going.
You're absolutely right.
That's like most of the video is that.
38 minutes, and then 2 minutes at the end.
There's a concentrated bit at the end. It's like, okay, then I get some help during 2017. So I got, there other people mostly now. I write.
Yeah, so he said definitively. I thought this was pretty important, that he used to get help writing all the scripts, but he really hasn't done. No. He said something along the lines of, like, I always get help. I have often gotten help writing the scripts. Yeah. In some cases, somebody else wrote the whole fucking script. I read it and tore it up. I made it mine. I took it. I peed all over it. And but that's, you know. So I still feel like it was mine. And I haven't done that since the Green Dog episode, which was
since 2021.
2 years ago. Yeah. So because COVID obviously ran roughshod over this man. This man in his soul. Yeah. I think that this is so. He was like, I collect all this gameplay footage and I play, whatever, and I record myself, and then I organize them in Premiere into these like clip groups. And I think what he's telling us,
reading between the lines,
trying to tell us, is that he organizes the clips and he sends them to an editor, right?
Reasonable.
Well, that's what you would do. That's what I would do if I was outsourcing to a slob, or otherwise.
Do you think do you believe him that he plays the games?
I think he probably has played Majora's Mask. I think it seemed like he put a lot of focus on, like, I beat Majora's Mask. In the episode, he put a lot of focus on that. And
he focused a lot on The Last Ninja in this video.
He did.
Yeah. And I feel like he probably played that one.
Oh, the thing that Kieran said that contradicted it was that Screenwave was pushing for them to select Sonic 3 and Knuckles as a game, when he's saying, like, I select the game, I come up with what will be funny, I. Why can't this guy let the fuck? I mean, that's really the big mystery, is like, why not embrace the team spirit at some point and be like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Is it really because he thinks the brand will fall to bits if he admits, like, yeah, I work with a team?
I don't know what the smoke and mirrors is about, where he has to be like, especially that most of the video is like, I'm doing all this, but I'm setting up the timeline like this. I'm doing this.
If someone else is editing the video, I make sure to include all the time codes for the game clips and any notes for the editor. And then after they have a rough edit done, I'll look it over and say, okay, that's right, or fix that. So I always have final say over everything.
Yeah, when it's like, okay, you could just be like, you'd be truthful and say how you work on a team, and I think people would love it just the same.
Yeah.
He does talk. He talks about it a little bit, to be fair. You know,
Yeah,
he
but
does say
it's weird.
he does all those
It's
things.
weird
Yeah.
and contradictory to the rest of the video.
Yeah, it's like addendums at the end where he says, yeah, and Mike helps me, yeah, and I outsource it so I can go write other things, yeah.
Audio work and color correction. I came to realize I could be more productive if someone else handles all that stuff. So while they're editing, I'll be busy working on another part of the video.
So he wants to say two things at the same time. He wants to say the following people have helped in various degrees by my direction. But these are all still, I'm the auteur of all of these videos.
Yes.
It feels
And it's
pretty
like-
ego-driven, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, even if that was true, even if that, like, it was like, oh my God, James is the guy, man. You still you'd give it up to your team, right?
Yeah.
Like, just because to be cool about it.
Yeah.
It's strange. The James Nintendo nerd. There was last time we were talking about, like, you know, people have been speculating this thing's going to end someday and the views have stayed up. Well, it's true. The views have stayed up, but they've gone down. I was looking on Social Blade, and in 2020, he was in like the 20 million views per month for his whole channel. And he averages about 10 million now. So it's cut in half since 2020. And for his subscribers gained, he was like averaging around 20,000 subscribers gained per month, and now he's averaging around 10,000 subscribers gained per month. And so both stats are cut in half. It's interesting because it felt for so long like he wanted to get away from AVGN and make other projects. Then when he had his family, it felt like he just wanted to get away from projects entirely. And now it's like, well, AVGN's the moneymaker, so I'll just do AVGN. You know, if the passion's gone, then I'll just do all AVGN, right?
And I'll outsource most of it.
And not admit to it. But he said he was like, you know, now that COVID's over and stuff, like I've been creatively on fire. I'm feeling very inspired.
Now that I can get out again and actually have people in the same room, it's charged me up creatively. And since then, the nerd has just been on fire.
No, I don't know how true it is, but it was a good thing to say, at least to the audience, which was like, hey, that's implicitly saying I recognize that maybe I looked a little downtrodden for a few minutes there. So I have a lot of notes.
Okay.
Let's start with, I don't think James edited this video.
No, I don't think so.
My evidence is there's way too much sourcing of clips. It'd be hard this would be a hard video to edit. This would take me a while. And I don't think he could be arsed to do that. And I think generally speaking, the thing that he's outsourced the most is editing. That's why this is a video about writing.
Yes.
You know, he wouldn't do a video about editing. It would have to star Kieran, and he quit.
Thank you, Karen, for your service.
I found it slightly annoying. I don't know about you guys, that he was talking about the totality of AVGN. He was talking about moments from 09 and moments from 11, and where it's like, well, dude, we got the behind the scenes, we got the making ofs like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I'm kind of interested in like AVGN now, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
It was weird how much of this was a clip show.
Yeah.
Like I said, he was
definitely.
just like, he was like, I wrote this moment. Remember that moment? Haha.
Yeah, it was very clip showy.
Yeah. He doesn't record on DVD anymore.
Oh, that's
Good golly.
he uses a PC.
Yes, and then moves it to Mac.
I bought one of them computers from Amazon.com. Yeah. And I record right into it.
Well,
You know,
Screenwave did it for me. Yeah,
yeah. They helped.
they helped.
They provided some computer help.
And Mike Matei,
help.
we transfers me some footage. Yeah.
Into this PC and not onto a DVD like in the olden days. I thought some of like the commentary on the right, one of the things that might be interesting about a writing video, about the insights into a writer, is how they come up with their ideas. And there was a couple of interesting moments, like here, like Mike coming up with jokes. But one, he was like, I don't know what the hell would be funny, and so I just say things, and sometimes you guys laugh. And I was like, it's kind of, I'd like to hear more about like how, He literally said, I don't know why it's funny. I just say stuff.
When I get a genuine laugh at other people's lines, it reminds me of how people laugh at my lines. There's no magic formula to know ahead of time what's going to be funny.
Yeah, that iconic pizza shit moment.
Remember when I wrote that?
When I say things like, all that for a pizza? Pizza shit.
He was saying, like, I try not to, sometimes I'll decide to really like focus in on a moment in a game. Like I could just pass over the your friends are dead part, but I'll kind of like focus on that a bit. I thought it was interesting to hear, but again, the examples provided were from the long ago past. The examples provided were from the moments that defined the show.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is like, so ever since then, I've tried to impersonate myself.
Yep. This worked, so I'm trying to recreate it.
Ever since then, Screenwave has tried to impersonate this time.
Yeah. So he talked about he told this story about he texted Mike with this grass or turf joke, and Mike came up with a next Karate Kid joke about it, which was pretty funny. It was a funny response from Mike. I mean,
I actually did like that joke in that video.
Yeah, I did too.
And it came.
He
from
ditched
Mike.
Final Cut Pro 7
Finally.
for Adobe Premiere.
That makes
Welcome.
sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Some people are out there using Final Cut X, these savages.
I used to, but I switched to Premiere Pro.
I don't, I edit all the time, and I'm an old man about it, and so like whatever habits I've picked up is what I do. Is what I'll do until the day I die. So it's always interesting to see another editor, like whatever that subclip thing he was doing was. I don't do that at all.
No, I don't do that at
those
all.
piles thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like it was maybe a perfectly valid, reasonable feature of the software, but I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah, it's fun to sit. Like I work with editors, so it's fun to sit on sessions. Like, oh, why do you do it like that? That's crazy.
Yeah. I tend to like if I'm trying to like compile little clips that I'm going to use later, I just throw them at the end of the timeline.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Kind of pluck them back in. Yeah. When he cuts between his on-camera stuff, like his on-camera personality in this video, and then he cut to something like the Purr Pals episode, the Wii Purr Pals episode, you can see how truly bad the color correction on that episode was. It's like a blue yellow. It looks, I don't know who the fuck did that. Maybe it was Kieran, but he was using a natural color profile on the camera in this episode, and it looks perfectly fine. Oh, he ditched the teleprompter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said it was overkill. I don't know exactly what that means, but
maybe he saw our behind the scenes video.
I used to try a teleprompter. That worked, but I decided it was overkill.
a quote: you can have someone help. That's called teamwork. Like introducing himself to the concept.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe I'll talk about teamwork later.
Writing doesn't have to be a lonely experience. You could have someone help. That's called teamwork.
I feel like that was spoken to somebody. It doesn't just seem like something you would say. It's like it feels like it's in response to something.
He says Mike still drops in to help with gameplay. It's just a strange sentence.
It is a strange sentence.
Drops in to help with gameplay.
As in, he records all the gameplay and then airdrops it onto my computer.
Mike still drops in to help with gameplay and writing notes, most recently in Kid Icarus. So he helped a lot with that one and will continue in the future.
He also in the same week he uploaded a marathon of his six SNCS flicks. He put them all together, and if you want our review of that, I guested on the Hat Hole Entertainment podcast, and I watched all of those 6 SNCS movies. And but this is like a compilation or a compilation, I think as James might put it, of not only all the movies but also all of his introductions from all of the movies over the years. Because the subreddit has kind of pointed out that for some reason he's especially tuned into that particular group of childhood movies. I kind of get it. I mean, like, your early work defines you in a lot of ways. It probably was a major confidence boost for him. Again, the book gave us a lot of insight into that, and so. I'll let he put it on the non-main channel and stuff, and he've shot a corny kind of AVGN-ish sketch of him being attacked by his paper bag mask. Whatever. John and I, have been making movies since I was, like a preteen, basically. And I also interviewed myself many times. Look, I'd be a big time hypocrite if I went after him for the 6 Netflix. So I get it. There's been some stuff, I think maybe because of the Kieran video or something, but we've just been all over the place in the community. And this one dude, what was his name? Cappy29 on Reddit. He brought a sign to an AEW wrestling.
Oh, yes.
And it said, "Big Ryan fan, by the way." He crossed out Ryan, put Frankie. You can see it in the background of an episode. He's talking to me. And somebody caught it and posted it. He actually DM'd me while he was there. He's like, "Is it okay if I put up a thing of you?"
Like, of course.
Of course.
And then he was escorted out by security.
Somebody also, they found, what was it? It was like a computer game of some kind. Jumpstart. And apparently there was a dog named Frankie in this game. And somebody played some footage of me. Here it is.
He's more than a mascot. He'll help you a whole lot. He is really super silly. He's Frankie.
Is there anything left to say about this fucking guy?
No. Until he
clout?
posts a really embarrassing video in like 2 weeks.
God, I hope not. I'd rather talk about my VHS collection. My bottle cap collection. Kieran's gone. James insists he does everything anyway. I guess we're all waiting on bated breath for what the next AVGN is going to be.
Oh, yeah.
And who the hell is going to make it.
Are they going to even put who edits it in the credits?
Well, because this is my other question is like, some people are immature enough, for sure, to criticize him for outsourcing his work. I think that's a bit much. I think you just need to be upfront about it. That's all.
Yeah.
Transparency.
And so instead, he's found himself trapped in this kind of like he has to.
He has a strange, song and dance where he says he does everything, but he also delegates, but he doesn't quite spell it out.
And he probably outsourced to the wrong people. There's like better collaborators out there and stuff. But then he comes in and says, "No, don't worry, I do the whole thing. Those guys just like sort of like help me on the side." And I'm like, well, I don't know what their take is. I don't know what their percentage is that they go home with at the end of the day, but they seem pretty invested in you. I imagine that it's worth their while to get involved with you and for you to be a client. And if you're telling me like, no, they don't really help me though, then they're making too much off of you. Okay. Like if I was paying, let's say, I have no idea what it is. Let's say for the sake of argument, it's 20% or something. If I'm paying somebody 20% of what is probably a fair amount of money coming in from the AVGN, they're doing everything. Okay. I'm sitting back and letting them do it. And if they're not doing everything, then I'm like, if I find myself doing so much of it, I'd just be like, what the fuck do I need you for? So my point is like, I just can't, it's hard to buy like, oh yeah, don't worry. Like, at best I get a little bit of help.
That's
it just doesn't ring
at the end of the day, it doesn't pass muster.
Like, what is this business model? What is this business arrangement? Exactly. And I'll say it again for the millionth time. He is exactly the kind of content creator that should have a Patreon. It makes so much sense. And I get it. Like the ad reads and stuff. I won't begrudge him his ad reads, cringy though they may be, distracting though they may be. But there's a lot of people that will never give up on St. James. And so let them pay a monthly fee to support you. And I heard it was in Justin's AMA. They said like, well, James doesn't want to do that because he would be beholden to make Patreon content. And I was always like, all you got to do is set up a camera and talk to them on like a live stream for like a half hour a month, and they'd be satisfied.
Be happy.
Does he just really not want to ever talk off the cuff? I mean, I don't ever want to see him talk off the cuff, but
many do.
Many would, and on a safe Patreon page, they would watch you.
I got it down to a science. So what's all this crap? Well, this is the teleprompter. I use it for the longer speeches, especially for the movie reviews. That way I can look directly at the camera while reading the script. It's the speed of the text scroll with a mouse and keyboard.
Mouse
But it's a little tricky because to a mirror, which is a one-way glass.
He's like solving
So
a
when I
bunch
come
of
into
like
the room
really
and go to
stupid
work,
problems with
all
really
I gotta do
stupid
is flick the
solutions.
one
Like,
to
just
take this
light the
wire
room
down,
then.
and the
Light
light,
it like
imagine
this.
how much of a
Right.
You know?
pins are,
Just downlight
the camera,
it.
and that's all very time-consuming. And that's nothing unusual.
So, let me get this straight.
It's
He doesn't
very
have time?
common on a movie
Yes.
set. But when I'm short on time and trying to be as quick,
Time.
as convenient, and efficient as
He
possible,
wasn't saying
I
it,
just
and now
stick to
he's
a
gone
camera
into
shot.
it. He said it
I'll
4
set up a
times
different
in
angle
30
when
seconds.
there's a
He literally says at the end of this,
Some
it's
people
hard to make a
felt the
video
need
about how you have no
point
time
out
when you have no
whenever there's a
time.
basic episode that's lacking.
We're through the looking glass here. Our friend Dylan the Night Owl put up a part 1, which is of the channel Awesome retrospective, which is 3 hours.
I haven't seen it yet. I gotta see that.
I watched the first hour. I was like, oh, elliptical, here I come. He could go faster for sure, but I actually like that he gives everything its due. He gives he'll like, you think like, oh, he'll just buzz over 5-second movies or something. No, he like does a deep dive into 5-second movies and copyright and all of, and why they would have moved off to their own website and how Mike Machad became involved and, bringing in quotes about that period of time that Rob Walker made recently. And it's quite good. It's quite good. It's worth your time. You're going to be washing dishes like a champ. When you
No,
watch
that's
this.
journalism. That's beautiful journalism.
Because I have to be done at 5:40 right now. Where the fuck am I?
People flood our Discord to be like, 540, am I right? Like, Jesus Christ. It was very funny for about 2 years.
Maybe I shouldn't stop playing to prevent this from happening. You know what, Mike? Fuck 540. Let's keep playing.
What? What about your kids?
We're right at the end, Mike. Let's finish this game.
Fuck yeah, let's do this. You got this, James. We're almost there.
It's all right. I just gotta focus.
Holy shit, just one more hit. Watch out.
Oh, shit.
Come on, man. You got this.
Oh, my fucking God. Yes.
Holy shit. Yes, we did it. Good job, James.
And I need your help.
Self-publish!
No, never.
Self-publish!
No.
You just go to lulu.com.
Makes perfect fucking sense.
Pumpkin spice lattes.
Yeah. Who invited this asshole?
You know what I don't give a fuck about?
A vagina.
Oh my God!
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.
I don't have that money.